Awesome. Well, it looks like most people have joined us at this point. First of all, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Emily Littlejohn, and I'm an Associate Director of Alumni Relations here at DePaul. I'm just going to go over a few quick housekeeping notes before we get started. First, I just want to note that the video and audio of all participants is going to be turned off just to make sure that we have the best possible experience for everyone involved and that we can hear all of our panelists clearly. I also want to encourage everyone, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to send them to us via the Q&A feature. We'll be saving time towards the end for questions from the audience. And lastly, I'm just going to note that this webinar is being recorded just in case anybody isn't able to join us this evening. They'll still be able to see our conversations. So now I'm excited to introduce Thad Dorn, the Director of Development here for DePaul Athletics.
Thank you, Emily. And I want to welcome you all to the Dream Big Conversation with DeWayne Peavy. This conversation kicks off Dream Big Week for DePaul Athletics. And the goal of Dream Big Week is to cap off the 100 days since DeWayne was named our new athletic director by outlining the vision that DeWayne has been developing and to announce some first initiatives for athletic development. From his first moments, DeWayne has challenged all of us to dream bigger. Tonight, he and our host, Vice President for Advancement, Dan Allen, will outline Dreaming Big. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our host, Vice President for Advancement, Dan Allen.
Thank you, Thad. And a welcome to everyone who's taken some time out of their evening to join us for the conversation with DeWayne. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with all of you and spending some time with DeWayne in conversation and hearing more about his plans for DePaul Athletics and Dream Big Week. So at this time, I'm going to ask DeWayne to, because I can't see right now, I'm assuming you're still off camera, DeWayne, but if you can turn your camera on, turn your mic on and join me and let's get into this and talk a little bit about where things are headed with Blue Demon Athletics for our alumni and fans. So I am, and my family, we are such Big East basketball fans that last week was a highlight for us. So when a lot of the country was, I'm sure, waiting for NFL football games to be on as part of the Thanksgiving week ritual, we had college basketball on all day. So let's dig into what's going on with college basketball in the Big East, specifically DePaul. Are fans going to be able to come to games this year? Talk about what you're anticipating for the Big East tournament in the spring.
Well, first of all, Dan, thanks for having me here tonight. I'm looking forward to talking to Blue Demon Nation firsthand and teach them a little bit about what dreaming big means at DePaul. But you're right, basketball is on the forefront of everybody's mind right now as I'm watching the games too, just like everybody else. But we started the season on November 25th, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And unfortunately, for our men's team, our opener with Western Illinois was canceled due to some precautions we had to take for quarantining for our men's team. And so that impacted, unfortunately, our first 4 games on the schedule, which were Western Illinois, Chicago State, and I think we had Alcorn State and the last one, Northern Illinois. The Northern Illinois game wasn't in the quarantine period, but it was more effective because we didn't have enough time post-quarantine to be able to ramp up. We actually are playing 5-on-5 for the first time really yesterday than we've done in a long time to prepare for a full scrimmage tomorrow. And so we couldn't put our team in harm's way where they haven't even physically done that with themselves to go do that in a full court element of a basketball game. So we'll open up our season Sunday on the road at Iowa State as part of the Big 12 event. And we'll start our Big East playoff at Seton Hall and at Villanova. So not easy slate. We dream big here. So we start off with 3 road games on the men's side. The women opened up on Wednesday. We were planning on a doubleheader, but we ended up having an exhibition against Lewis. And then we started the season off with our opener and brought in number 13, Texas A&M. We lost by 2. I would have told you that was the first, seeing them firsthand. Great effort by our young ladies. We didn't have as many shots fall that game, but for us to make 9 threes and shoot under 30% from 3-point range and lose by 2 to a very good nationally ranked team, I think Doug felt like he got out of that game what they needed to see where we were, to see if, what conversation we're in. And he felt good enough from that result that we added another game to the schedule and scheduled Louisville for Friday in Bubbleville in Connecticut on ESPN2. So we actually had to feel pretty good because we didn't have that game on the slate when we played Texas A&M. So we followed that with our first win, my first win as the athletic director at DePaul over Chicago State on the women's side, setting the record for points. And just looking forward to, the rest of the schedule with the women playing on the road as well on this Friday. For the fan element, and obviously you've seen some of the things that we talked about earlier. We're without fans right now currently at Wintrust Arena. All our men's and women's basketball home games will be at Wintrust this season. And obviously as the conditions lessen, as the pandemic subsides, we'll start having continued conversations with our city and state health officials to see if we can have some level of fans at our games. That's our goal. Right now, that's not up for a discussion, mainly because of what we're dealing with and the CDC guidelines as well. But we hope to have some fan elements soon, and we'll talk more about some of the things we're allowing our fans to do to stay interactive with us along the way. But right now, at least for the rest of the calendar year, when we open up the rest of our home schedule, we will not have fans through the end of December for sure.
Got it. And then we'll just take it month by month and follow all the guidelines that we're being given in terms of when fans can get back.
Right. And right now we haven't even released the Big East schedule for the rest of the season. And so probably coupled with that, our hope that should be happening soon in the next couple of weeks. As we open up Big East play, I think the biggest thing from a conference standpoint, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have to totally alter the schedule based on cancellations or things that COVID-19 pandemic would bring about for us. And so I think we've had some extensive meetings on that, great board of director meeting yesterday. Feel pretty good about the direction we're going in to continue trying to accomplish the schedule we have in front of us, even though some teams have had to sit out for periods of time. But I feel good that, these kids now, with most of the campuses being empty after Thanksgiving, that we have a chance to have some sort of our own bubble on each campus to try to give us a chance to go through some level of a travel schedule to get these games in. 80% of the men's basketball games that were scheduled have been played. Women's basketball has actually done even better than that. And so that's about the same level of college football. So hopefully we can take the steps to get through this and get to a better spot in 2021.
Great. Thanks for the update.
No problem.
As you know, basketball is important at DePaul, and so helpful for folks to understand where things are at with the season. But obviously, you're coming into a university and athletics department that has much more than basketball. And when I hear somebody coming from Kentucky talking about dreaming big, I get excited to understand what that looks like. And so this is Dream Big Week. You've named it Dream Big Week. So help us understand what you want to accomplish this week and what it means to dream big.
Well, I think the biggest thing of it is I asked our staff from day one to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's really to deliver to our fans, our supporters, our donors, our students, our faculty, our staff, something different. And dreaming big means to me, that's the reason I came here. I was at Kentucky and saw an opportunity that DePaul was set to really capture post-pandemic, really set up for great success. And I came in, it wasn't a thought process. It wasn't something I planned on just saying at the press conference. That was just me talking from my real true feelings of why I wanted this job. And when I took the job, I knew about Chicago. I knew about the Big East. I knew about DePaul's men's basketball history 40 years ago. But I didn't even know all the assets we have on campus, our human capital of our staff, our academic prowess, the theater school, our technology and business acumen. My daughter Caitlin's a freshman at Kentucky State right now, and she probably would have beat me to DePaul if she'd have known all the things about DePaul that we know now. And I think as I took those elements, it made me feel even better about the dreams and aspirations I had even before I even was interested originally in DePaul. But I think the thing that really kept you, once I started the job, started talking to some of our key alumni, our supporters and donors, our staff, our head coaches, I realized that I'm not dreaming alone. I was a little worried that some people might think, okay, we got this guy from Kentucky and he's got all these thoughts of what we're going to do. This is not Kentucky, blah, blah, blah. But what I found out is I was surrounded by a bunch of people that had those same dreams and aspirations about what DePaul athletics could and should be. And that really ignited me. That's probably why you've seen me out there. I've had plenty of energy because you're feeding me. Because now I know I'm not alone in this. Their response is, how can I help? And this is the time for us to get those things started because we need funds, we need assistance, we need mentorship, internships, scholarships. We need your time, your effort, your voices. We need to expand on all platforms. And the time is now. I think we have a unique opportunity here at DePaul to, when this pandemic ends, to be in a unique position to storm up that ladder in the Big East and get on that national scene right away.
Yeah, so I want to come back to that, the point you made about not dreaming alone, but want to follow up your answer by asking you to talk a little bit more in detail about what when you say dreaming big, what does that look like specifically within the athletic department? What are some of the specific components that our alumni and fans and donors and friends are going to hear about?
Well, from day one, we talked about I want to win national championships. And it's at that high level that we're striving for. And it's not just talk. We have to have a plan in place, something to execute. And my vision for DePaul athletics is to create a culture of championship culture that is the premier sports program in the Big East Conference. And that starts with 5 guiding principles of success that we've defined here at DePaul. And if you hear about them before, the best way to remember them, we call them the ABCs of DePaul athletics. A is academic excellence. We're the most decorated athletic program in the Big East Conference academically. That's not something that we're giving up. And how do we strive to go forward with that and make a 3.5 GPA the norm for us versus what we just had for the spring, which was a record performance for our students. You know, our GSR numbers and graduation rates are through the roof. But what that's going to take is funding for scholarships. What are we doing with our learning programs and being on the edge of innovation and technology to help us continue to strive academically and recruit the best and the brightest? The B in that is building the DePaul brand. You know, I talked about that from a long-term standpoint for me. This has to become a destination spot for our head coaches, the athletic director, for our staff, where this is a place that you strive to come to. And building that DePaul brand also means what we do for people to know about us. You know, we need to stretch out. I looked at what we're doing on radio, television, you know, how are we out in social media, how we brand ourselves. Where do you see our logo? You know, what are we doing with our gear and merchandising? But it also means enough to where people recognize us as a dream school that they want to go to for other students and young people and being connected to Chicago. So a lot of those things go into play there. But I think part of that is you really got to build this brand up to be something that everybody wants to see. We're the front porch of the DePaul University. We need that front porch to be pretty dang nice so people want to go into the house and see it. Like, what's there? Let me check that out. The C in that is the championship experiences. I want our student athletes to have the best 4 years of their lives. Whether you're here 8 months or 4 or 5 years, this should be something you look back to proudly on. And what that comes with is team performances, championship experiences, making real runs at winning the big trophy. Right next to me in my office, I have a room full of Big East championships. And we've set those tones, and we still can compete for those at a high level with our backs to the wall. But imagine us taking our hands from behind our back, taking a step forward, having things that our opponents have, and having a chance to take a bigger leap to get a wooden trophy versus, the black and silver. Like, let's win regional and national championships in all 15 of our sports. Those are the real goals that we have in place. The D of it is developing and equipping our future leaders. And that means not just our student athletes and making them better citizens and helping them in the job force and being financial literate and understanding what the big picture of the rest of their lives, but it's also our staff. How do we become better leaders? How do we do continuing education to make sure we're growing? How do I help launch people in my staff to want to be in their own chair as an athletic director one day? Or helping assistant coaches become head coaches. All that is part of that process. And that takes expansion of our staff, that takes monies and on our bottom line to be able to do continuing education, go into conventions, learn to be the best and brightest and bringing the best to our fans in Blue Demon Nation. And then the last piece of that, the E, is external outreach. That's like doing what we're doing today. I need to be out there. Obviously, we're restricted in a pandemic right now, what we can do, but things like this and talking to hundreds and thousands of people, I mean, it's an opportunity that we have. This is the time. I have the time. And so how do we get to a point where we're Chicago's team again? How do we get to a point where a young lady or young man dreams about coming to DePaul, not just for athletics, but for anything? How do we get connected with internships for our local high schools? How do we get connected with bringing our students on our campus that are not necessarily interested in athletics, but all of a sudden we can help them gain experience of working in different areas of, whether it's video, photography, business office things that might not be specific to athletics, but gives them a chance to have a broader experience here. Those are just the opportunities that we've got to get out there, not just for raising money purposes, for friend raising, alumni base, letting people know that the change is coming and that success is on its way. So those are our 5 guiding principles, the ABCs of DePaul athletics.
And I loved how you positioned athletics as being the front door to the house, right? And then that front door has some appeal from the street, right?
Yeah, that curb appeal, right?
Yeah, it has to have some curb appeal, and folks are going to want to approach the front door and figure out what's behind it, and not just for the purpose of going to games necessarily, but finding out about everything that is great about this university that you mentioned before. And so I really appreciate your sensitivity to and awareness of that part of the athletics department within the university. But I want to come back to what you were talking about earlier about when you said you weren't dreaming alone. And so much of what you just described, DeWayne, aligns with a fundraising effort that we're doing now across the university called Now We Must. And I remember back when it was the early days of the pandemic. So in March and April, and you can imagine the anxiety that you remember the anxiety, I should say, and in particular for our students, right? And the needs of our students, and students wondering how they're going to continue on for the spring quarter, and then thinking ahead to this academic year. And our board of trustees at that point said, we must step up and meet the needs of our students. We must challenge ourselves to raise even more money next year than we're raising this year. And at that time, we were having one of the most successful fundraising years in the history of the university. And so I had the same experience, DeWayne. It was a moment for me where I realized I wasn't dreaming alone either, right? The board of trustees of the university was dreaming along with us and saying, this is a time for us to step up and help our students. And so the chair and co-chair of our philanthropy committee, with whom you've met, Sasha Gerritsen and Jessica Sarowitz, and the Vincentian community across the campus, the entire board said, yeah, let's go, let's step up and do this. And so we're in the midst of raising $60 million this year for our students to meet their needs. And those needs that we're raising money for sound so similar to what you're describing in your ABCs. Can you talk a little bit more about the funding needs that you have in athletics that are aligned with some of what we're doing in the Now We Must campaign?
Yeah, I think, and I appreciate that because I think that's part of the process to make sure that our guiding principles align with the pillars of the university and fit in so that we're all in as one in this. And so, like you said, the front porch concept is real. I mean, sometimes in athletics, whether you're excellent or not doing your part, the attention comes. And so it's our time to help attract students to DePaul. And I think part of that, I hired senior associate AD Taylor Stapleton to be for revenue generation and strategic initiatives. And the reason for that was having his biggest focus from day one is helping us develop a strategic plan. And we've done that year to year here at DePaul. But what we want to look at now is a more dreaming big strategic plan, something that's more of a 3 to 5 year plan that shows here's what it looks like when the dreams become a reality, where everybody can really see where we're trying to go. And that helps us, whether that's coaches and recruiting, it helps our student athletes understand the decisions we're making and what it's all pointing towards. That also helps in our fundraising initiatives, our board of trustees, our athletics committee, our athletics board to be all one to understand what's our challenges, but also what are we striving for people to understand the next step for us. It's also going to help with prospective students and prospective student athletes to know, okay, this is what DePaul is trying to be in the next 5 years. And so we've been gathering those facts between our coaches. I'm meeting with coaching staffs now, and it's been great sitting there talking to them about what does dreaming big mean to you, and challenging them to take a step further. Don't just give me the next step. I need you to think for the first time about something that maybe you didn't even think was possible here at DePaul, because I'm going to challenge myself to think beyond my surroundings, to think even bigger, because we owe that to our fan base. We owe that to these kids. We owe this to this storied university. You talked about our mission. That's one thing that I don't think a lot of people that aren't around here really know about what DePaul University is about. I consider myself a servant leader. My mom instilled that in me. She was a juvenile detention officer for 30 years, first 30 years of my life. And to be able to see how she took that on every day and help me and my brother and sisters grow through this, and to figure out how you can help people, that's really the thing that has enabled us. We're fundraising on need right now. It's not about even wants.
So let's talk about a couple of those needs, right? I know that there are mental health and wellness needs that student athletes have. You have needs around technology in athletics. You have described to me some of the things you want to do around branding and getting the word out to the community about all the great things that DePaul Athletics is doing. So can you talk a little bit about some of the specific needs in those categories?
Right. I think especially during this pandemic time, I think one of the things in talking to our students, the mental and physical health needs that they have are absent right now of some of the tools to be able to help them perform and be the best people they can be. And specifically, how do we help them from a nutritional standpoint? How do we help them from a mental health, sports psychologist, sports psychiatrist to make sure they're performing at their elite level? Because as you know, when we went to college, that's the best 4 years of your life. I mean, this is the time you enjoy. Not only are they going through an unprecedented pandemic that's in our nation during their college years, their best times, but also with everything from racial and social injustices, everything these young people are facing, I don't know if we even would have been able to deal with it. But make sure from a performance level, here they are, they've worked their whole lives to get to this point. And so how do we help them become the best version of themselves to the point where with those helps? And so we need funds for those things. We don't have a staff. We don't have a nutritionist. We don't have, mental health professionals that are directly dealing with athletics every day so they understand the comfort level. One of these kids in athletics, sometimes you take a high level men's basketball player, it's even hard for them to go walk on campus to go into maybe a mental health facility or to see this campus person because everybody knows who they are. It's a little different situation to dealing with the sports psychology that they're dealing with too. But how do we help our young people eat, sleep, train to be the best they can be? And when they leave DePaul, we're teaching them how to be true professionals in life, whether that's in a professional sport or in their career, with that experience for them, it's unprecedented. The data, the technology that we're famous for here, to be able to get into those things, because sometimes staffing can't work. Right now, in a short period of time, I couldn't add 10 staff members because we don't have the space, but I can add data and technology for tracking devices, different third-party agreements to help us supplement that, to get us started right away, where we don't have to wait till this plan is over to be able to see some of the benefits of the funding that some of our supporters have helped us with. Yeah. And, I think those are the things that right away, the impact to our operating budget that'll allow us to be able to impact between recruiting needs, recruiting travel with our current teams, what we're doing in a standard from a Big East national level is below par right now. And so how do we impact those things for people that want to see us succeed? Those are the things we're trying to outline.
Yeah. So to take that a step further, I've told Dr. Esteban, I'm worried you're coming after my job because you have such great fundraising ideas. Man, this guy, he's a fundraiser, and he understands how this works in terms of engaging folks and raising money. And some of the things that I'm really intrigued by, you've started a dream team, and you're talking about creating different donor societies. One, in fact, named after one of the most storied basketball players in the history of the country from my hometown, Joliet, George Mikan, and the Mikan Society. So maybe talk to folks a little bit about some of those different levels of participation if they want to help with these needs.
Yeah, perfect. And I think one of the things that we've tried to establish is that we've had giving levels, and we're trying to raise the bar on what we need to get to a different level. To get to these championship levels, to be the premier program in the Big East, we have to raise the bar on what we're doing from a giving standpoint too. And I've talked to supporters, and they want to help more. So one of the things we created is the Mikan Society. And I mean, what better person to model after than arguably the first college basketball superstar ever, right? And he's our own, DePaul's George Mikan. And a new giving level for the Mikan Society will be $50,000 as the new giving level, which matches a major gift level for the university. But we haven't had that giving level in DePaul athletics. To take it a step further, as you mentioned, the dream team, I've talked about dreaming big. I'm wanting to formulate DePaul's dream team. I'm looking for immediately 12 families that can invest in DePaul athletics at a giving level of $100,000 annually. If you can only do it 1 year, that's great too. But if you can do it for multiple years at $100,000 a year, that'll allow us to start impacting our actual budget, because the one-offs are great, but if we can only spend it in that way. But if we have monies that are coming in over time, if you can only do it for 1 year, we're working on somebody to come in and take care of year two. Or maybe after the fact, you decide, okay, I can do this again. But I think that's the thing, because right now, that's a 10% uptick to our operating budget if we can get 12 families to jump online with us. A perfect example is just how supportive our people are here. One of the things that I'm trying to dream big, I'm thinking about things just like a strategic plan. One of the first steps I made is walking around this office and seeing how can we impact quickly something to give our staff, our coaches, our students some hope while everything's going on in this world right now. And so I had our marketing staff, Alicia Pope, put together with our partners from 49 Degrees, let's do an office rebranding and what it would look like. We don't have the funding for it, but we need to at least look at it and see what it looks like and what does that cost. So that way, if we have an opportunity, to fundraise or have funds for it, we can do this. And so the impact we wanted to impact our front door from when our kids come in, they see something fresh, new, that hasn't been here 20 years ago when we opened the building. To add some nutritional spaces on our second and fourth floors where our coaches' offices are, near where our student athletes are usually visiting, just to be able to, whether it's Gatorade or if they got to sit down with a coach, or just our nutritional snacks. That's something we just don't have a place for right now. Then the last piece of it is our multi-purpose room, which is kind of our conference room. It's a locker room of sorts in a pinch. it's, where you want to have a big meeting and sit down. We needed to change that whole area. We needed to make it more recruit ready to a point where we've got a high quality prospective student athlete. We can walk in with a parent and have a meeting and they see what we're all about. You see that we're part of the Big East, all our sports, we're a Nike school, and look the right part. And it's right here in part of the athletic director suite area to be able to have a conversation. And so we put those things together, and had a meeting, a one-on-one meeting, a Zoom meeting with one of our supporters, and I just showed it to her and said, hey, here's something we're trying to do. I just want to show it to you. I just got the plans back. And then ended up having dinner with her 2-3 days later. And as part of the conversation, you want to know, well, what can I help you with? What could help give you some boost right now? And I said, what would really be helpful? I have the plans I showed you for the rebranding of the office. If you can help me start with some prospects, some opportunity to help raise $300,000 to make this a reality, that would be huge to ignite us into 2021 and help us really dream big and get started. And you know what she did? She stepped up and said, you know what? I'm going to do that myself. I want to help you dream big. And she became our first dream team member. And when it's appropriate, we'll unveil who that is. But that's the kind of people we have here that support this program and this school, people that want to do. And I think that's the thing we're trying to get the message all to other people, is that whatever you can make a huge difference here. Because when these kids come back from winter break and they see a new, fresh place, you don't know what joy it's going to bring. Because when I even shared the gift with my staff and the plans, even the staff that's been here multiple years brought unbelievable energy to them. And that's what we're talking about accomplishing here and dreaming big.
Yeah, and you're so good at this work because you recognize that not everybody has the ability to make a gift of $300,000, and the engagement part of this work is just as important as the actual giving.
Right.
Making gifts, right? And we've had a number of conversations about what that engagement looks like. And I love, being at home on the weekend and get a phone call from you and you're thinking about visits that you have coming up the next week. And you're thinking about how do I best engage with this person? I don't need to ask them for money all the time, or I don't need to ask them for money now, but I want a deeper level of engagement with them and the university and the athletics department. And you've mentioned a couple things already, but both in terms of engaging with some of the alumni who are former student athletes, as well as a really cool idea creating a Blue Demon room, or I don't know the exact title for our virtual game. So maybe talk a little bit about, DeWayne, how you're thinking about the engagement side of this beyond just the asking people for money.
You're right. I mean, there's certain different levels of it. I mean, if people ask me all the time, what can I do? I can't, like you said, everybody can't make a gift of that stamp at that time. But, anything you give, whether you buy cutouts that we set up that have launched for our games when we get back to Wintrust Arena, whether you buy season tickets. I mean, unbelievable that our season ticket holders, most of them, a vast majority, have decided to move their tickets to next year, donate the money back to the school. Not many people even ask for a refund. That's been helpful, but there's an opportunity to go ahead and buy season tickets, put a deposit down for 21 as well. Because if we get fans back, we want you there. But the other piece of, if you haven't downloaded already, download the D-Zone app, because what that's going to do is going to be our platform that what we're going to give to you, because you can't come to Wintrust Arena right now. So starting for Blue Demon, for Dream Big Week, we're going to, our next home game, we're going to do for, I think the women's game and the men's games coming up, we're going to have a Blue Demon room. I heard a lot of stories about back in the day for DePaul basketball, where that was the place where everybody wanted to be, to see their friends every game to come. So we're bringing it back virtually. We're going to have alumni coming on and talk to our fans, our supporters, I'm going to be on there. We're going to have the coaches and people of their staff come on and talk to you during the game for your pregame. We're basically going to have, whether you're in the courtside club or northside club or Blue Demon room back in the day, try to bring those elements that you missed, getting us back together. I know everybody, that's the one thing I miss of going to games is seeing people and getting to talk to people and seeing how they're doing. You don't realize how much that helped you keep up with everybody until you don't have these games anymore. So we're asking everybody to get on board, follow us, and we'll make sure you're checking on social media and email, because we'll be sending you the way to get logged on, because we want to have a chance to have a conversation with you. And just to be able to have those touch points. But I think the biggest picture of it is, and women's basketball, they've got, Xavier coming up on, that game will be that home game. And men's basketball, we're going to do the road game at Seton Hall. So that'll be the first debut for those two sports. But I think things like that, it's going to really signify the direction. We got to do a little friend raising here. We got to get back to being Chicago's team. We got to be able to be in our community, giving back to receive. Return on that investment. I mean, because one of the things I've seen and what I saw with the donor story I told you, but also with somebody that decided to, instead of giving their tickets back, not only did they donate the money, but made an extra donation. To see that return on those investments, that's a wide range of gifts that you can make, but everybody feels that. I remember when I was at Kentucky and we won a national championship in 2012. And I know that the people that had a little part in their mind, they don't realize how big a part they had of making that a reality. Because my first year at Kentucky, we were in the NIT. It wasn't always that way. To build up and people invest in and dream bigger and have a bigger situation of where we could go to win a national championship after being in the NIT not so many years ago, those were dreams. And I know for our fans, the investments you make to be able to see your smiling face when you get return on that investment, that's the day I'm looking forward to. And, one of the things you talked about, what we're doing, your challenges on the university standpoint, I can't wait. Maybe you tell us a little bit about Blue Demon Challenge, our Blue Demon Challenge that's coming up in February. And it's an opportunity for us to build up to where in athletics, we're a little crazy now. I don't know if this is me. I don't know if this is Thad, but we're getting a little crazy now. Now we're shooting for $1 million that we're trying to raise in the Blue Demon Challenge this year. We set a record last year of just over 500,000. We're going for $1 million. We're dreaming big, and we need your help to help us get there. We want $1 million new dollars, 1,500 donors. How can we do it? We can do it together, because that will allow us to take the steps to be able to reach our dreams. We're dreaming big, but to make those dreams become a reality, we all have to do our little parts.
Yeah, and athletics has traditionally been one of the leading areas during our annual Blue Demon Challenge, and so looking forward to February 11th again this year, and I love the $1 million goal for athletics. That's just brilliant, and I simply can't imagine that our alumni and fans and the friends of DePaul athletics aren't going to step up to meet that challenge. So let me just one more question from me, but I want to give our guests a little bit of time. Of course, we're going to save time for them to ask questions of you, and they're going to put those into the chat, and Thad will direct those questions to you. So if you have a question for DeWayne, begin to think about that and put that in the chat. I just have one more for you, and this is so terribly important, right? In the era of throwback jerseys and throwback uniforms and all the things that teams are doing to market and sell more things, we got to talk about Billy Blue Demon, right? And that throwback logo. Tell everybody what you're thinking about with Billy Blue Demon.
Well, I think last time I talked to some of you, we talked about we were trying to get it done. Well, Billy Blue Demon is coming back. I think the social media campaign has been great. I can't believe the amount of different merchandising and different things that we've had. But now we're talking to our partners of how we get it to you. And there might be an element as part of the Blue Demon Challenge. But we are talking about how do we get merchandise in your hands with Billy Blue Demon, but also for other DePaul athletics merchandise to make it easier, because I've heard your cries that we've got to do a better job for everybody. The goal is for everybody on this Q&A, so, for thousands of people that are sitting here listening and watching this, we want you to be able to go buy more DePaul athletics gear, Billy Blue Demon, and everything else. We need to help that. We need to help that situation to make that easier for you. And that's one of the things that we've took on as a challenge going forward. But we'll have some big plans on that to announce it. I'm looking forward to a giveaway when we have fans at a game, but I'm also want to figure out how do we get Billy Blue Demon back in your hands. And so we've had some great meetings this week. It's got me all excited. For those that you don't know, I took a Billy Blue Demon cup with me throughout the whole interview process. Little did I know, everybody was dreaming that same dream as I was once again, and it was important to help me get here. So now I've got to use Billy Blue Demon to help us get to our next spot. So I'm looking forward to bringing him back. We're not going to change Dibs. Dibs is still going to be here, but Billy Blue Demon is going to be back in the saddle. I actually met one of our former employees that actually helped create Billy Blue Demon. And so it's a heck of a story that we're going to try to tie into everything else. But Billy is definitely going to be back.
Brilliant. Love it. I'm sure you're going to sell a lot of merchandise with Billy Blue Demon on it. That's great to hear. So let's open it up to our guests, Thad. If you could direct some questions at DeWayne, and I'm happy to answer any that may be coming my way as well.
Yeah, we'll kick it off. We're very excited. Dan Evans is joining us from Colorado. Dan is actually the former GM of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he says, congratulations on a great men's recruiting class this far, top 10 in the country. How have your coaches recruited so successfully within COVID?
Well, I think that's one of the advantages for right now from the COVID-19 pandemic. I've seen it. Obviously for those of you who don't know, there's no official visits on the campus, and our coaches can't go out and recruit. So no home visits, no watching tournaments and things of that nature. So it's been a challenge. But one of the advantages of being at a school like DePaul, what you can do on Zoom and your innovation. I think our campus partners helped us create a great video to kind of introduce you to this place. Like if you haven't been, maybe you even saw things that you normally wouldn't, because it really showed off Lincoln Park. Because that's a community here that most of our kids, to get them to want to come here. But I think the Big East as a whole did a great job. We're in big cities. We're very innovative in technology, but I think a tireless work of our staff of getting after it. And it basically put everybody on the same playing field for this time period. And I think our staff was at the forefront of it, taking advantage of it and getting the time with different recruits and kids. I'm on a Zoom tomorrow with a kid. So I'm trying to do my part too, because, we got to keep going. Recruiting's not done yet. We got a whole rest of the year, and then we got another class to recruit as well. So I think it's just a testament to Coach Lato and his staff of how they've embraced the challenge of the pandemic and be able to use it as an advantage for us going forward.
Okay, we have another question from Augustine. He says, as a season ticket holder, I would like for more marquee home games. So what's your dream big plan for drawing teams to play in Wintrust, and how you're going to drum up student support?
Well, let's take the first one with the marquee home games. For those that know me, that's not going to be an issue. I think it's funny from the women's basketball standpoint to see Coach Bruno, when he asked me about the Louisville game, he probably thought he had to do some convincing. I'm about being on that national stage and playing games that everybody wants to see. And so we've got to do a better job of bringing that on both sides to Wintrust Arena, not just playing in great tournaments and road games and events, but bringing marquee events to Wintrust Arena. And so my goal is, how do we get to a point where we have two major basketball conference opponents in Wintrust every year? That's got to be a good start for us. We play one of, if not the best college basketball conference in America. So obviously a 20-game slate that we're supposed to be set for starting this year, hopefully we complete that. But it doesn't give you a lot of inventory left, because we have 11 other games on the schedule with things like the Big 12 and Big 10 challenges, trying to figure out what we do with some of our local teams, because we still want to play other Illinois and Chicago teams. But I don't think that's a challenge that's that's away from us. I want to get to a point where soon we're going to announce a series for next year so we can tie our 21-22 season tickets to it. But I wouldn't worry about us bringing marquee opponents. You'll get value for your season ticket for sure.
JT Wallace asks us, what's DePaul's goal regarding grassroots development in Chicago and the surrounding areas?
That's one of the things I'm looking at, kind of some immediate impact. Obviously, the problem is right now we can't really go anywhere. We can't really do anything. We can't really be around as many people. But my hope is that we get to a point in the summer where we're planning. I'm actually looking into some different groups to partner with to bring some youth camps into the Chicago community. And these are scholarship camps. We're planning on, hey, that's how we give back through sponsorships and, and involve our alumni. How do we get our alumni involved? Maybe we go back and have each camp at a high school that one of our alums went to. Maybe we do that. But then get to a point where we do other things, alumni game. I've heard a lot about a TBT team. How do we get one of the things I want to do here is a fantasy camp. So some of you that's on this call, you want to see how it is for a week to be a DePaul basketball player. Let's give you that opportunity. So let's get through this pandemic and give us a chance to have an unbelievable summer in Chicago. I haven't had a true summer in Chicago yet. I had a pandemic summer. I heard it's not the same. So let's bring even more people here. It's something we can do in August to really have a big DePaul charity weekend with an alumni game, a fantasy camp, youth camps. Let's do it all. Mm-hmm. And let's get connected to our community.
John Whites asks, what are you most excited about the upcoming basketball season?
I'm ready to play. I tell you, I've never been so excited watching our women's team play Texas A&M. The fact that our men's team hasn't had a chance to get started, it feels so unfair because you had to wait so long for the 25th of November. So now I'm actually getting in a car and driving 5.5 hours to Iowa State because I've got to see a men's college basketball game with DePaul. And so I'm not going to put myself in the tier 1 and travel with our team, but I'm going to make sure I'm there at Iowa State to see our first men's game. That's how excited I am.
That's great. One of our former basketball players, RJ Currington, asks, what difference can a recent student athlete or a recent alum do now to make a difference?
I think you can be a brand ambassador for us. Reach out. We're going to have a bunch of alumni calls here soon with men's basketball, giving some direction of how we can help. But if we get to a point where we have this summer's events going on, we're going to ask our alumni to be a part of it. We want our students, our former student athletes, to be a part of some of the things that we're doing. You're a big factor in building that DePaul brand, because when you're out there telling our story and you've actually been a part of it and you've got your DePaul gear on and people are asking you about DePaul, we need you to have a great story to tell. And so we want you involved. Stay tuned. We're having huddles for every one of our sports coming up during this week. So make sure you get signed up if you're not already. But I think this is a golden opportunity to figure out how you can help your coach, but also help the overall athletic department and the university dream big dreams.
That's great. Claire Camille with our women's tennis program, former alum, she says, what are your plans for the sports other than basketball moving forward?
Yes. Every head coach, we're meeting with their staff about dreaming big dreams. So this is not just about men's basketball. The uniqueness about men's basketball is some financial return on some of those investments that we've got to get to. Because if men's basketball can have a level of success, all 15 of our sports benefit, because that affects our bottom line. And that's the reason all of a sudden enrollment goes up for the university, our corporate sponsorships goes up, the season ticket holders, all those feed our budget. But women's tennis in particular, I'm tasking Marissa and her staff, I'm asking every head coach, what does dreaming big mean to you at DePaul? And I don't want you to settle on like I need more full-time staff or I want to travel better. No, I want you to think about everything. I'm planning on having a locker room for every sport that we don't have, lounge space and entertainment space for them to be able to be around each other in the post-pandemic, having more robust nutritional area, expanding our training rooms and strength and conditioning weight rooms, because we need these athletes to have the best opportunity to succeed at the highest level. So those are the things that are all about all 15 sports. It's not just about men's basketball for sure. because I want championships in all of them. And so I'm raising the bar. I want to match resources with our expectations for our programs. But when I do that, I expect championships. And so I've challenged them, and all 10 of our head coaches are all on board. They're excited. I think our kids are excited. I know the staffs are excited too, but I want your alums, I want you to be excited too, because we want you to help us take those steps to become championship worthy in every sport here at DePaul.
That's great. We're going to give you one last question. There are several of them who want more jerseys, different jerseys, whether they be in stores or different setups and that, but we'll settle on another scheduling side. Lorenza asks, would DePaul ever consider hosting an MTE in the future?
Yes. I mean, I've hosted them myself, put them together. That's something we do. I mean, if that's what it takes for us to get high quality opponents at Wintrust, we might even do one that's a Windy City Classic with our Chicago teams, just to give us an opportunity to start the season out. I'm on board with any of that. You know, I've got partnerships with other third-party groups that I've done before, but I've actually done one myself too. So whatever it takes for us to get it done, we've got to get on that big stage, because those things, men's basketball feeds all 15 sports. That's one big bucket for us. Another one is the fundraising piece and what people are giving to help support our program. Another one is the Big East and what we're doing from television rights in our tournament. Those are big buckets for us. So when we're lacking in one, just like our corporate sponsorships, how do we grow our corporate relationships for those out there? We want to get more groups coming to our games. We want to get more students. I didn't get a chance to mention that. One of the things we're doing, I'm meeting tomorrow with a lot of faculty and staff on our campus about integrating with our students to help expand our staff, expand the experiences for our students. How do we give back from DePaul Athletics to main campus so they can invest in us? My thing is, how do I go to more events on campus that are non-athletic so our kids, our faculty, our staff on campus want to come to more athletics? We're all one big happy family. We got to support each other. But that might start with us doing it first. And so when we get this campus back, where students are back on campus, DePaul Athletics will be involved in what's going on campus, because it's hard for us to ask for them to come support us when we're not supporting them. And that's how we're going to change this.
That's great.
Sure. Hey, I'm going to jump in here now, DeWayne, and
Okay.
you know, everybody's evening and wanting to give them some of their time back and to say thanks to everyone who's participated, and of course thanks to you, DeWayne, for your insight into your vision for DePaul athletics and answering questions. I'll give you the last word before we close it up.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for just jumping on tonight and dreaming big with us. And thank you for welcoming me and my family to Chicago and Lincoln Park, because we've enjoyed every minute of it. And my wife, Allison, you know, my son, Braden, my daughter, Caitlin, our two dogs, Milo and April, everybody, we're full on Chicagoans now. And it's been great. But the support from our alumni, our donors, our season ticket holders, faculty, staff, our students, coaches, it's been amazing. And I couldn't dream, you know, you talk about dreaming big. You know, I dreamed about being at a place like this that could embrace us and that it felt like home. I felt that when I made my first visit here, when we snuck on campus, and I'm still feeling it today. So I'm 100 days in and I still got the same energy when I was trying to get the job. And so I hope you test me on that year to year. But I think I also want to thank you for dreaming big with me, to be willing to, when I first started having conversations with people, I thought that maybe I've got to convince a bunch of people at DePaul, whether they're alums or supporters or staff, about something new. But what I found out pretty quickly is that you have the same dreams too. And then now you're ready just to jump on and let's just go do it. And that's the greatest thing about Blue Demons. I mean, they are ready for the charge and for the change. And I want to thank you for that, because that's not easy. And so that's half the battle. Now let's turn those dreams into reality, and we need your help. And that's whether that's small, that's recruiting others to join you. When you come to games, bring some other friends with you. Don't just come by yourself. You're all recruiters. We've got to expand it. Our Blue Demons need to be Blue Demon Nation. To come in droves. Let's turn this thing around. We have a unique opportunity to come out of this pandemic better than anybody else. And so I appreciate your time today. I'm looking forward to dreaming big dreams with each of you, and I can't wait to hear more ideas. And so flood social media. Hit me at Blue Demons AD on Instagram and Twitter, and tell me, what does dreaming big mean to you too?
Thanks, DeWayne, and thank you for accepting the challenge of helping the DePaul community fulfill its dreams, both for the athletics department as well as for the larger university. We believe here, I believe strongly that no university, certainly no athletics department, has ever become great on student tuition dollars alone, right?
Right.
It takes all of us, and whether that's all of us giving financially to the university, helping a student find an internship, coming to a game, showing up at an event, whatever that role is that each one of us can play, we need to play it in order for the university to become great. And so my thanks to everyone who's participated tonight as well. And let me offer on behalf of all of my colleagues here at the university, the Vincentian community at the university, during a really challenging time, my hope that you all will find a way to have happy and peace-filled and blessed holidays this season. As challenging as that may be, I hope you can find time to have a blessed holiday season and keep yourselves and your loved ones healthy. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you virtually on our games until we're back in person again. Take care, everyone.
Well said, Dan. Thank you, Blue Demons.